Hello everyone, welcome to the DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Big Italy 42. Of course, he is Josh Shepardson at BChad50. And 15 games on tap tonight. 13 of which will definitely be played. 2 of which there's a little bit of concern. We see chances of 60+% of precipitation and or thunderstorms all night in Colorado. Not looking too great there. Chicago White Sox hosting the Reds. Not looking good there. Expected rain all night either. So monitor those situations, but we're going to proceed as we expect. Those games are going to play, obviously. We don't want you to miss out on players if those games go. So obviously you're not probably playing pitchers from either game, especially the Coors game. But either way, we'll go ahead and get things kicked off here with pitcher. And I love Matt Harvey. I know you love Matt Harvey. His mom loves him. Everyone loves baseball. Maybe not Phillies fans. But Matt Harvey's incredible. He's $11,000, most expensive pitcher on the board. But he seems well worth it to me. Worst offense in the league against righties, based on WOBA, based on WRC+, based on whatever the hell you want to base it on. They even have a team ISO under 1. I mean, everything going in Matt Harvey's favor except the fact that he opposes Cole Hamels. But he's still minus 130 favorite on the road. So cash game lock for me with Matt Harvey.
Yeah, he's by far my favorite cash games pick tonight. I'm going to be trying out a lot of Harvey shares, and there are some cheaper pitchers that I like that I think you could pair with him, and get him some GPPs too. So definitely all over Matt Harvey. My number 2 cash games pick is a guy that we discussed before the podcast, Gio Gonzalez, monstrous betting favorite tonight. My biggest concern with Gio, and it's always going to be my concern with Gio, is his occasional bouts of wildness. He struggles with his control at times. He's been good in his last 2 starts, but was rough to start the year. His walk rate isn't particularly good on the year. He does have a soft matchup, and he is opposing Eric Stoltz, hence the large betting favorite nod. But if I'm paying up for a premium pitcher, it's going to be Harvey, even if that's $1,500 more. I'll find places to save money to make sure that I get that much higher floor with Harvey, because the truth is Harvey's also got a higher ceiling than Gio as well.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like you said, Gio's got himself a nice high ceiling, but his floor not where you'd like it to be for someone around that price. A few other guys I'm looking at around that. I like Sonny Gray in tournaments at 9,800. Seattle, over the past few years, really good at home against righties. Not so much this year. They're 23rd in the league against righties. Sonny Gray's been pitching very, very well. So tournament-only option, obviously, because of his price, but I think his ownership will be very low. And one other guy I want to mention that I know there's someone cheap that you like specifically. I like Francisco Liriano in tournaments as well, at 9,100. He's a guy, he's efficient. When he's not walking too many batters, which he walked 6 against Arizona 2 starts ago, but still managed 27.5 DK points because he only gave up 2 hits with 7 Ks. So he's a guy who does not give up a lot of hits. I mean, 3, 2, 3, and 4 his last 4 starts. So if the walks are under control, he could pitch deep into games. And, he had some success last time out at St. Louis, 20 fantasy points. So I think he's an interesting tournament option as long as his command is there tonight.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with Liriano is even though he throws a ton of sliders and fastballs, and he'll mix in his changeup, when he's on, he really has no problems with right-handed batters. I mean, that slider is a swing and miss pitch to both-handed batters, and the sky's the limit. With him, when he's locked, he's missing bats, he's piling up strikeouts, and he's pitching deep into games. Obviously, he doesn't do that all the time, or he'd be priced up in the Matt Harvey range, but that's what makes him an appealing GPP option. The fact that people will be a little wary of, well, does bad Francisco Liriano show up and walk the park, or do we get the good one that's going to miss bats? In that same price point range, I really like James Shields tonight. Diamondbacks put a big number up last night. The betting total isn't terribly low in that game. Check Pinnacle just before hopping on the podcast, and the Diamondbacks have an over-under total of 4 tonight, so that's going to scare some people off. But Shields leads the league in swinging strike percentage, second in the league in strikeout rate, and right up there in K- walk percentage. Really, the only thing that's kept him from posting just a ridiculous ERA this year is struggles with giving up home runs, but those tend to normalize. We don't have a track record of issues with giving up taters for Shields, so I expect that to turn itself around. And honestly, the Diamondbacks are a below-average offense against righties, despite what they did last night. Don't let recency bias influence your decision to not use him. Jeremy Hellickson, really bad against right-handed batters. A lot of right-handed batters that can exploit him tonight for the Padres, so I expect run support for Shields. Not a cash games play, but definitely a GPP play, and I really like the price point. The other 2 names that I like, The first is $7,300 Jason Hamill against the Brewers. Brewers really bad offense against right-handed pitchers. Hamill's been very good as a Cub, both last year and this year, not walking anyone. Strikeout rate's fairly good. But the problem is, I actually like the guy on the other side of him a lot better. Jimmy Nelson at $6,200 is going to be by far my most owned SP2, probably my most owned pitcher in GPPs because I will mix in some of the other top options with Harvey. $6,200, added a spike curveball this spring, wrote about him for Rotographs today. So if you want a little bit of a deeper look at Nelson, go ahead and check that out. But spike curve, really nasty slider that misses a lot of bats, keeps the ball on the ground, doesn't walk a lot of batters, ranks in the top 15 in swinging strike percentage. It was actually tied with King Felix. You wouldn't know it by the strikeout rate, so I'm expecting more punch-outs to come. And Cubs lead the league in strikeouts against right-handed pitchers this year. As you said before the podcast, we saw Lackey carve him up yesterday, reach double digits in strikeouts. I think Nelson's got that type of upside, and you don't usually get that at $6,200.
No, not at all. I'm with you there. I mean, like you said, it seems like one of those. There should be more strikeouts there. They got to be coming, and this is an ideal situation to bump up your K rate here. So I'm a big fan there as well. Cheap. And moving on here to catcher, your top most expensive option is also one of the hottest hitters in the world. 4 home runs in his last 5 games, all solo shots somehow. But, I mean, he's also got 3 hits. The one game was a just 1 hit and a pinch hit, but then 2, 3, absolutely on fire. Russell Martin, $4,800, now gets Wade Miley, who, well, there's good Wade Miley, and then there's really bad Wade Miley. There's not a great Wade Miley. So somewhere in between there, or on the bad end, and he's definitely beatable tonight. Got to like him, and we got to mention another hot hitter who scored 52 DK points last night, and has been on base in 15 of his last 20 plate appearances. Yasmani Grandal. Yeah, that last time I checked, 750 OBP, pretty good. And I mean, what else can you say about Yasmani Grandal? The only thing not going in his favor tonight is that there's a lot of concern with weather in this game. But I tend to think he might get a couple hits even if this one gets postponed.
But unfortunately, if he only gets a couple hits, I mean, that's going to bring his OBP down in recent games if there's an out recorded in there
700 is not so bad.
But yeah, Grandal, Martin, I love Martin at home. The fact that he is so pricey might actually reduce that ownership rate just a little bit since people are going to want to spend on that Rockies game if it gets in. People are going to want to spend on picking on Jason Marquis a little bit, picking on Hector Noesi, grabbing some of these Blue Jays against Wade Miley. Martin obviously fits that Blue Jays against Wade Miley bill, but I love the guys around him in the lineup. I don't mind spending $4,800 on him. In addition to Grandal, really the only other name that I'm looking at, if you're looking a little bit contrarian, Derek Norris against Jeremy Hellickson in the desert at Chase Field. Great park factors for right-handed batters. Hit 6th in the lineup yesterday against a righty. Hellickson actually worse against righties than lefties. Norris has a good fly ball rate and above average power. So he's the kind of guy that if you want to chase a home run, maybe be a little bit different than your peers and save a little bit of money, Derek Norris looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, and you know there's a lot of good catcher options when I get to mention Stephen Vogt 4th. But Stephen Vogt against Taijuan Walker, who has a 38% hard hit rate so far this year. All Stephen Vogt does is hit the ball hard. And now $3,800, he's going to fly under the radar as well. You could even play him at first base and one of these other guys at catcher. Interesting way to go in a tournament. We've talked about that before. Still love Stephen Vogt tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he still has a prime lineup spot, has a good matchup if Messi Walker shows up again. I mean, a lot to like there. Surprisingly, good number of options at catcher tonight.
Absolutely. All right, moving on here to first base, where there's never a shortage of options here at first base. A ton once again tonight. You've got Justin Morneau at home is at 5K. You've got Adrian Gonzalez in Coors Field for 5K. You've got Paul Goldschmidt in a tough matchup against James Shields. Obviously still a great hitter, much better against lefties, but interesting tournament play and a tough matchup there. As you're looking down cheaper, Jose Abreu's at $4,800 if that game goes. And on the other side of that game, Joey Votto at $4,600 against another bad pitcher. So these are the 2 parks we want to target the most, but they're also the 2 with the biggest concerns. So I know there's one guy in particular that you like here who's nice and cheap. So who's this guy you're looking at here?
Well, we talked about my boy before the podcast, Mr. Parrott, Edwin Encarnacion at $4,900, who I like. Jose Abreu at $4,800 we've got against Jason Marquis, which is never a bad thing. But Guy that I didn't mention before the podcast, and I'm gonna surprise you now with my contrarian corner pick at first base. Adam LaRoche against Jason Marquis at home. Lefty versus righty. We know that Marquis is absolutely dreadful against left-handed batters, so I want that exposure there, and I mean that's I think you're going to see so many Adrian Gonzalez shares owned. You want to fade that a little bit. I mean, not necessarily because we have bad outlook for Gonzalez, but you need some of those lower owned guys. But yeah, those are the names that I'm primarily looking at tonight.
Sure. A couple cheap guys here. Ike Davis had a monster game yesterday. He's still just 3,300 against a bad righty. And you've got Adam Lind against a good righty, but at $4,400, he's been mashing the ball recently. And I know one guy here that you might be saving him for the outfield, but I'll go ahead and talk about
Yes, I realized that after the fact. I'm digging now, and I forgot that he holds first base eligibility because he has been playing outfield in his present role. But go ahead. I got Chris Colabello, former Minnesota Twin. $2,800. You're looking at monster salary relief. You're getting great right-handed park factors at Rogers Center, and you're getting Wade Miley again, who's not good against right-handed batters. And as you pointed out, he's played in 2 games since getting the call-up. No big deal. He's only total 25 fantasy points in his last game, and we got, 12 in the game before that. So 37 fantasy points. I'm not sure if that's good. Do we like that? I mean, it seems like it's good.
Yeah.
At 2,800, I think you can do a lot worse.
Yeah, you could certainly do a lot worse, even for more expensive. So, yeah, I like that call a lot. And I wasn't going to steal your thunder there. I was going to let you get your Chris Colabello. So,
thank you. I completely flaked on him being at first base. I'm like, who is he talking about? Cheap. I'm like, I love Edwin tonight. And the worst part is his teammate. And I'm just, but yeah, we got him. We got him.
Hey, he's there, and he's $2,800. So do not forget about him now, guys. Moving on to second base here, you've got Howie Kendrick, of course, in Colorado at $4,900. He's nice and pricey. Justin Turner got a day off yesterday, but he was swinging a nice hot bat there for a couple games, and he's $4,700. Could be a low-owned guy if that game plays. I know you and I both love D. Gordon. How could you not love D. Gordon? The guy pretty much gets 3 hits every game. Tim Lincecum's not really going to be slowing him down. They're not throwing him out, keeping him on the base pass. He's going to take bases at will tonight if you like. And, I mean, if you're looking for cheaper guys, Jose Altuve is facing a righty, but a bad righty. And, you know, he's cheaper than he normally is, a lot cheaper, about $1,000 cheaper than he was the other day. $4,400. He's interesting. Who else are you looking at here at first base, or second base, I should say?
Scooter Jeanette's had a nice lineup spot, $3,700 against a righty. I do like Jason Hamill, as I mentioned, but I'm not going to argue with grabbing a guy in a prime lineup spot at that price at Miller Park either. I mean, those are nice factors. There's a guy that's second base and third base eligible that I know you like. I'll let you get to him in just a second. And then hiding, I don't even understand it. At $3,300 is Devin Travis. I mean, is there going to be anybody more owned at second base? I mean, I think that's going to be everybody's favorite salary relief option, but I also can't fault them. You're getting a leadoff hitter against a left-handed pitcher at Rogers Center. Blue Jays, best team in baseball against left-handed pitching this year. I definitely really like Devin Travis tonight.
Yeah, and speaking once again about the Blue Jays, my boy against lefties, Danny Valencia at $3,000, second base or third base. Hopefully he doesn't trip over any more stairs and sprain any more ankles today, and hopefully he is back. But I love him. He usually bats 5th, sometimes 6th against lefties. Got to be a big fan of him. And Corey Spangenberg's another guy, second and third base also. Has been batting 2nd, $2,900 in Arizona. So he's an interesting cheap play as well.
And I'm gonna spare you your Colabello moment. There was another second third baseman that I was thinking of, priced at $3,600, playing against our favorite diminished velocity right-hander in Los Angeles, Anaheim, wherever the hell they play. Your boy Luis Valbuena. And I mean, we've both been on Valbuena since he really thrived in a platoon last year with the Cubs. Gets that awful velocity from Jared Weaver. I looked up his numbers for DK's playbook today, wrote the contrarian corner piece, and Jared Weaver has the lowest average velocity among all starters that have thrown a minimum of 114 fastballs. Not only does he have the lowest, but it's not even close. He is throwing about 84 miles an hour right now.
Are we allowed to call it velocity still?
Yeah.
Once it's that low?
Pretty soon he might not be breaking 55-mile-an-hour speed limit signs with that fastball. And I mean, Tommy Malone checks in at 88 miles an hour, and Jared Weaver's envious of that velocity right now. So
Bronson Arroyo is laughing.
yeah, I want Louis Valbuena from the 2 spot for the Astros, and you pointed out Altuve leading off at a reduced price. Maybe get yourself a little stack there with some Astros against Weaver tonight. I mean, obviously Springer's out, so unfortunately you lose that key cog, but you get some nice bargain plays with Altuve's price down, Valbuena third base eligible, Gaddis. Another guy that we'll talk about, we haven't talked about Chris Carter, but always a threat for a home run, but a guy that we'll talk about in the outfield. I'll just tease him, and we'll leave him for later.
Oh, yeah, I do love the Astros again. Probably my favorite stack of the night tonight, as you have probably noticed. That and the Blue Jays, obviously, there. Moving on to third base, obviously a couple guys we already talked about that have eligibility there. Nolan Arenado is going to be a popular play at 4,600, assuming that game goes. And Josh Donaldson doesn't have the jacked up price this time, the 5,400 he had last time against a lefty. Now an even worse lefty he had last time, Wade Miley. Josh Donaldson at 4,400 is sure to be one of the most popular plays at third base, and probably one of the most popular on the board.
Yeah, easy cash games play, especially if you're worried about that weather at Coors Field. Go ahead and bump down $200 to Josh Donaldson. His ownership is a little bit prohibitive for use in GPPs, but if you sprinkle in some contrarian plays, I have no problem with spending $4,400. I mean, that price point is so good. Rogers Center, I'm going to keep beating the drum for that. I mean, you want to get right-handed batters at the Rogers Center against the lefty. That Blue Jays lineup is so good against them this year. Looking a little bit deeper, I'm not really liking a number of options, but if you're not using Sonny Gray, Kyle Seager at home against a righty. Justin and I have said it on the podcast countless times before. You like that. And then some of the cheap names that we mentioned, Louis Valbuena and Danny Valencia, if he's in the lineup. Those are two cost-effective options that you can trot out at third base and feel pretty good about.
Yeah, absolutely. One other guy I'm going to throw in, I know you like him, and it's another one of those misses that we just forgot to say before the end. Alex Rodriguez at $3,900. Don't forget about him.
That price point is great, and among starting pitchers that are towing the rubber tonight, Miguel Gonzalez has the highest home run per 9 allowed to right-handed batters since 2012. Really does struggle with the long ball. We know Alex Rodriguez is hitting the ball a long way these days. Should have had a multi-homer effort, if not for Delman Young showing off his hops yesterday and catching one at the wall, but still reached the seats anyways, and I really do like Alex Rodriguez a lot against Miguel Gonzalez tonight.
Absolutely, and we've been waiting for Troy Tulowitzki to get a bad lefty at home. Unfortunately, Mother Nature, whoever you believe is in charge of the weather, may not let that happen, but he's $4,900 if you can get him tonight. Wade Miley, not a good pitcher. So I'm sorry. I'm wrong. I'm thinking so much about targeting Wade Miley. Either way, it's Brett Anderson.
Yes.
Still not a good lefty. A good ground ball pitcher, but that's about the only thing he has going for him. But the truth still remains that he's against a bad lefty. Different bad lefty. As you know, there's a lot of bad lefties on the mound, but Tulo, if you can pay for him, certainly in a great spot there. Some other guys at shortstop. There's not a whole lot of guys I like. I know you like Marcus Semien at $3,700. You always like Marcus Semien.
Yeah.
You guys are BFFs, so of course you consider him. And if you're not playing Francisco Liriano, Johnny Peralta is interesting at $3,600 in tournaments.
Good lineup spot, and we know that he brings some pop to the table. I definitely like that call a lot. The other name that I will throw into the mix is, oh geez, I lost him. Andrelton Simmons gets Gio Gonzalez tonight. It's a lefty-righty matchup. Gonzalez isn't particularly bad against righties, but if Messi Gio shows up, I like the number 2 hitter in the Braves offense. So Simmons, $4,000, a little more than I'd like to spend, but if you're using a guy like Jimmy Nelson as your SP2, you're going to have salary to spend some places. And we've also highlighted some bargain plays at other positions, so not the worst guy to budget for.
Absolutely. One more cheap guy I'm going to throw in. Marwin Gonzalez has been an awesome punt recently. $2,700. Got the day off yesterday, so should be nice and well rested. Been batting in the 2-hole with George Springer out. So you got him, then Valbuena, some other big bats, probably Gaddis right behind them. Going back to that Astros stack. I like him as a cheap play. Stack or no stack. $2,700 is a great price for him. All right. At the outfield, in the outfield. I can't talk today, but
Angels
in the outfield. Speaking of Angels in the outfield, Mike Trout. Don't need to tell you about him. He's pretty damn good if you can get him. Get yourself some Mike Trout if you want to pay up. Michael Brantley is still one of my favorite expensive options that always goes under the radar. The guy is hot right now at $5,500. He's just putting the ball in play. He's hitting the ball hard. He got a stolen base last night. He's really showing his versatility. He's He's an all-around player that just no one talks about. The guy's tremendous, but you got to pay a steep price tag at $5,500 for him tonight. I'm going to give you one more expensive option I liked and let you take over. Jacoby Ellsbury, always love him at $5,200 leading off. You already mentioned Miguel Gonzalez. Ellsbury really hasn't shown his power this year, but he's shown everything but that. 363 average, 854 OPS. He's stealing bases. He's just getting it done. You got to love a guy like Jacoby Ellsbury here, and maybe gets a hold of one to start this game tonight.
I mean, he doesn't even really have to get a hold of one. I hear left-handed batters, they hit the ball in the air, and they tend to find the cheap, well, not the cheap seats, the seats there.
No such thing.
In Yankee Stadium. I mean, that short porch always looking pretty good at Yankee Stadium. A couple other pricey names that I like. Justin Upton against righty Jeremy Hellickson. Going back to his old stomping ground. Not going for the narrative here. Just like in the power bat at Chase Field, you're getting some nice park factors. You're getting a bad pitcher against right-handed batters. And hitting behind some other righties that should give Hellickson some problems and should create some ducks on the pond for Upton. Jose Bautista, $4,900. Love them tonight. Miley, we're going to keep picking on Miley tonight. Joey Bats has a sub-200 batting average, which is going to scare some people off, but everything else is there. He's walking. He's hitting for power. He's got the Rogers Center. He's got the lineup spot. So much to like. So many other options around him that I think you might see slightly lower ownership than you should in this matchup. So I'm a big fan of Joey Bats tonight. Guy that I've been beating around the bush for all podcast, Colby Rasmus, left-handed batter against Mr. Jared Weaver and that barely breaking 55-mile-per-hour fastball. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but $3,800, cheap power. Not a guy that you usually think of as being an elite power hitter, but guy that has over a 230 ISO against right-handed pitchers since 2012. So a lot of power there, a lot of swing and miss, but Jared Weaver doesn't have swing and miss stuff at this moment. So I'll take my chances with Rasmus, who's been bumped up into a nice lineup spot in the absence of George Springer. He's been hitting in the 4 and 5. I believe hit cleanup yesterday. Or hit fifth, but regardless, he's in a top 5 lineup spot and in a great spot to produce. So those are some of the names I like. And because I didn't give him enough love at first base, I'm going to go back to Chris Colabello for $2,800. Just got to remind you, he is out there. He is a nifty option. And if the game gets in at Coors Field, and we keep stressing that, check the weather, check the lineup as well, because there is a cheap fourth outfielder who tends to get some starts against lefties, and that's Drew Stubbs at $3,700. Love Drew Stubbs against the lefty. I expect if they do get the game in, he'll probably spell Charlie Blackmon, could spell Dickerson, could spell Gonzalez. All 3 left-handed batters, all 3 candidates to sit in favor of Drew Stubbs, who, in addition to his hitting exploits, also always brings a plus glove to the field. So doesn't help you in fantasy, but does help his cause for getting in the lineup.
Yeah, that's a good call there, definitely. And all of his hits, both of them this year, have been home runs. So
both. I love that.
He gets in there, you know. A couple more cheap guys. Billy Burns at $2,500, as you know, leading off for Oakland, getting on base somewhat, scoring some runs. Doesn't hurt you much if he doesn't. A guy I should have mentioned at shortstop, been playing the last couple days, moving up in the lineup. I believe he bat 5th yesterday. Eduardo Escobar is $3,100. Gets Trevor Bauer tonight, who is wild. Minnesota's been patient at the plate recently. They're scoring runs. I like him a lot at $3,100 there. And there was one other guy I was going to mention. Oh, Kevin Kiermaier. I don't know if you ever heard me talk about Kevin Kiermaier, but he should be leading off still. And he paid off last night. He hit a home run, so you're welcome for that. He's $3,700. So get some Kevin Kiermaier. Give the man some love tonight.
I agree, and he's a great call for the outfield.
Absolutely. One more guy at $3,700, Lorenzo Cain. I love Lorenzo Cain. No one ever talks about the man. Give him some love, too, tonight. All right, that's going to wrap things up. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Lots of great content for tonight's huge slate at dailyfantasycafe.com. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.